Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
Hey, Bill, how was your week?
Oh, man, I had an unbelievable week.
Yeah?
I did. I had a lot of good times with my wife and my family. It was nice and warm, spent some time in the ocean, smoking some cigars, reading some books, a few cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was good.
Cool.
Some good steak. It was awesome.
Great.
Episode number 151, Peter. 151.
Hey, did we celebrate 150 or did I miss something?
No, we did celebrate it. We had actually had Ben Settle.
Yeah.
Ben Settle.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that episode. It was a little bit hard because we had some technical issues with computers and stuff. He didn't have internet. But I definitely want to do another show with him. Because I feel like his insights are very cool. His book is amazing. And I didn't realize that. I was on Amazon the other day looking for one of his books for a student. He's got like a lot of books.
Yeah.
I just ordered another one. It's like 2 inches thick. It was $45. It's like Ben Settle's business techniques or something like that. And I bought it because there's one book that I wanted on how to do newsletters, and it wasn't thick enough for him to print. So you can only get it in a Kindle version, and I don't do Kindle. So I was fumbling around, and I found this other one, and I ordered it just because I'm like, oh, this is a cool book, so I ordered it.
Junkie.
Yeah, pretty much. Information junkie. And I sent him an email like, how can I get this book in print? He says, it's actually in this other book. I said, no shit, I just ordered that book. So perfect, it's in there.
So that part's in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So today's episode, 15 steps of the deal meeting with your seller.
15 steps.
15 steps.
Now, I've never heard you say anything about steps. I know but just to nail it down. So I'll be listening today.
Good. As far as I'm concerned, Peter, the most, get it? The most valuable time and highest paying activity for any investor is sitting in a seller's house talking about them selling the house to you. That's how you make all your money. If you could erase everything else from your life and just do that all day long, you'd be a multimillionaire.
This is your dream. You wake up in the morning and you find yourself in somebody's house.
Pretty much.
No breakfast happens.
No, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind getting dressed and getting up and just doing 2 or 3 appointments a day. And then the team is around me, like just handling all the shrapnel from all the things that I say in the house.
Okay.
That would be my ideal dream.
I see.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
The only time you should ever make an offer is when you're face to face with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Too many people. Matter of fact, I have a coaching client that I was talking to the other day, and he's having trouble on the phones. And I realized 2 things. Mm-hmm. One, we talked about this last week or actually 2 weeks ago in episode number 149. We talked about how to survive anyone selling real estate. We talked about all the words and things. And in that episode, we talked about, which you should go listen to, we talked about the difference between being a salesperson and a closer. So he's doing too many sales things, number one. Yeah. And number 2, he's trying to make the offers on the telephone. Which I know Brian and Lynette Wolf teach that, with Ron LeGrand. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you could do that if you're just after low-hanging fruit. But I believe that there's a lot more potential out there other than a low-hanging fruit. So I like to go out in the house and I like to make the offer nose to nose, toe to toe, so I can see their emotions, I can see their body language, I can feel the tension or lack of tension in the room and the whole atmosphere. Besides the fact, you want to go see what the house is like, right? You want to see if the house qualifies. So after you've toured the house, right, and the seller has fully explained their situation, this time, exactly at this moment, could be super, super intense for our listeners. If you don't know how to do it, you're in trouble. In fact, in most cases, not knowing this will completely thwart your marketing phone calls, and making appointments. And it will increase your time to organize files, watch training videos, and do way more research on things you don't need. Okay? How do I know this? Been there, done that. So, in today's podcast, we will cover the 15 instantly effective steps to help you close your next deal as if you have done 100 of them. And that is a special place to be in your own mind. That's a really comfortable place to be. Just having that confidence.
I like how you break things down, because I haven't heard you put this one across. 15.
Yeah.
I like this.
So let's get started.
Go. Number 1.
Ready, start, go.
Go.
So, so here we go. We already did that, right? Okay, good.
Yeah.
For a second, I thought maybe
I
I
didn't.
maybe that was inside of my head instead of outside of my head. So I have repeatedly
Emma, run the tape back.
Yeah, I have repeatedly said the most important 60 minutes of every deal is sitting in the house working on agreements with your seller. Absolutely, bar none. Actually, there's 2 things that you should do. One is the 15 or 20 minutes talking on the phone about the deal to make the appointment to go see it, and then the actual appointment. Those are the 2 most valuable things that you could do all day long.
Sure.
I prefer not to be on the phone anymore, but I am more than I want to be. Okay, I'd rather just be in the house. But that doesn't seem to work because I need to train more people like me, which is why I'm writing materials and hat write-ups so that I could actually get people to duplicate what I do easier.
Right.
And that's all good for the listeners because once I write those materials, then it's easier to see and study and do, right? By the way, this meeting is called the deal meeting. Okay, so you have an opening call, you have a closing call, and then you have the deal meeting. The deal meeting is you're in the house, touring the house, looking at what to do, right? And by the way, what I'm talking about could possibly, maybe, probably be the most scariest part for most people.
Oh, hell yeah. Wait a minute, you being funny? Hey, that was good.
If you're not sure what to expect when you're in a house, you'll have a lot of unknowns. And these unknowns will play many, many, many tricks on your mind.
Now you're scaring me, Bill.
Never mind what it'll do for your heartbeat. Going 1,000,000 miles an hour when you're walking up the sidewalk to ring the doorbell. Never mind your mind. Your heart will be going heart palpitations, right? One of the first things, once these things, I'm going to give that to you again. One of the things to calm down this fear and melt away some of the most scary moments for you or the listeners is to help them prepare for the deal meeting. So I'm going to give you 15 steps of the deal meeting, but before I do that, I want to talk about the preparation to the deal meeting. It's not a distraction. It's not like some content filler. It just makes the deal meeting a lot easier.
Well, you got to be prepared.
Right.
So is this step 0?
I don't know. It's not part of the 15 steps. It's actually I think the actual steps are about 30. But I thought that was too big of a number.
Oh, hell no. 15's enough.
All right. So, first thing you should do is from the first contact, and this is all new to you, Peter. I don't think you've heard me say any of this stuff. But it's what I do, and I didn't realize it. So I'm observing more and more, right? Because if you notice lately, I've been more and more active in my deals.
Yeah.
Right. I've gotten rid of all the automaticities, all the automatic file, the phones and all that stuff, and I'm doing a lot of it myself now. I got pissed off at all the crap I had to deal. I was spending more time dealing with crap than buying houses.
Mm.
And actually, since I've gotten rid of all that stuff, it's easier to just buy houses.
I know. Well, it's all digital. It's all online. It's all computerized. It takes 20 minutes to get something done. Here's my money. Give me the change. I'll take the product home.
Yeah, exactly.
You remember the old days? You buy something, I have to stand there waiting, and it's crazier sometimes.
So from the very first inception point, get your mind out of the gutter.
I didn't think that.
First point of inception with your customer, here's what you're going to do. All the way to the point where you're sitting at the kitchen table. This is what you're going to do. Okay?
Yeah.
You're going to take 4 types of notes for every customer when you're talking to them. Okay? The first type of note that you want to keep, and it's not like you have to write them in separate places or anything, but these are the 4 categories that you want to pay attention to and take notes on.
Mm.
Okay? 1 is about the house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? 2 is about the deal and the math.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? 3 is about the prospect and their situation.
Right.
4, which I've done, but I didn't realize I do. You're going to write down verbatim notes of what the seller's saying in quotation marks. So on the prospect suspect form or wherever you're taking, you're going to put down when the person says something, you're going to write it down because it's something that you think will help you. Like I said, if you go back to episode number 149 and we talk about sales and closing, this is a closing technique.
Mm.
Because if you write down their exact words, it might help you later to repeat those words when you're closing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or when you're trying to get paperwork signed. Okay.
Sure, like something will jump out like we need to be in Denver in 6 weeks.
Right. Exactly.
So you'd write that down. They need to be in Denver in 6 weeks.
Right.
That's big.
So you would say to them, okay, so if we do it this way, you'll be in Denver in 6 weeks.
Right. That's right. You just fill that in as the result of.
If you take those notes down and put them in quotation marks, you know you can use that later on.
Yeah, because that's be the reason they're doing a sale, because X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Okay.
So 4 types of notes about the house, about the deal and the math.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
the
how much
financing,
their mortgage is, how
yeah.
much their payments are. They have a second mortgage, all that kind of stuff. Number 3 is about the prospect and their situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like they get like the one you're talking about. You know, their daughter-in-law is pregnant. He's getting shipped off to, he's in the military. He's getting shipped off for a 2-year tour, and they need to get out there and help the daughter-in-law.
Yep.
I need to help the daughter-in-law, she said, in quotation marks. I need to help my daughter-in-law.
Right.
Right. And we need to get to Denver in 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're giving it back to them, it's like, if we do it this way, you can get out there to help your daughter-in-law and be there within 6 weeks. Matter of fact, you can be there about 2 weeks.
Mm.
And that's how we closed it.
Yeah.
Right? Good?
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, because you qualify the house, you check the finances, and you qualify the buyer on the phone, finances, the house when you're there more,
Right.
But yeah, and then the details of their motivation.
Right.
The actual words would be big.
Yeah. But
It's kinda like
when you put them in the notes, you put them in quotation marks.
Mm-hmm.
So that when you're reading your notes later on, which I know a lot of people have trouble with, you write things down and you don't know why you write it. And you're writing it down thinking you're going to remember it. That's a big mistake. I write down the full thought so I don't have to remember it, because it clogs up my memory. Mm-hmm. So I spend an extra couple minutes writing the full thought down, and then I don't have to retain it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to clog up my thinking energy.
Yep.
Right? Some people will just write down footnotes and think that it'll jog their memory and actually and it doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it horrible for somebody else who's trying to read it later on, because they don't have that memory of yours to be able to jog.
Right.
So it's best to just write down full disclosure notes, especially if you're going to get somebody else to do follow-up later on, like an assistant or maybe a new acquisition manager or something like that. You go back, 6 months and they can't understand any of your notes. Mm-hmm. So you're better off. I'll tell you the best place to do this. I'm off on a tangent now. The best place to do this, this is where I learned this, is in the checkbook. When you're writing checks, make full notes. Don't try to, so when the accountant reads what the check is for, they can post it, or the bookkeeper, they can post it correctly and not have 15 questions for you. My ex-partner was horrible with that. Had horrible chicken scratch writing, and he would write down 2 or 3 words, and it was horrendous whenever we had to do our books because we had to interrogate the crap out of him about what he did to write a check. That's where I learned this.
Oh, okay.
And then later on, when I was writing notes and I started getting students and all that kind of stuff, I realized it applies there too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Makes sense.
Next, make sure you have a real good idea of what the house will sell for at its max price. This is before you go to the appointment. This is pre-appointment.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very important because I remember we talked about this in a podcast and you were surprised. You want the max price for the property. Does it make a difference what the condition of the property's in?
No.
Why?
Because that would be an after renovated value if you're rehabbing it, or if you're selling to somebody on a handyman special, they could rehab it and then have the final actual higher value. So you know what the potential of the property is.
Right. So the maximum price can always be adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know what the maximum price is, that's if the house is pristine and excellent condition and no excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, is what most realtors sell.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not hard to find. Mm. So the way I find that, and we have a whole podcast on that. Let me see here. I should have wrote this down. I forgot to do this when I was writing it. I think it's... let me see here. Real estate investors. I'm not going to find it. Anyways, we did a whole podcast on that, on finding out what the property value is. Em, could you find that for me? Please. So we did a whole episode on what is the value of the price, or the value of the property.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
We did a whole, and she'll give us a number there in a minute. So the point is this. Here's how I do it. I am not as anal about it as most people would want me to be.
Common lies most investors believe that you've been for?
No. It's the one we wrote the book on. It's the new book that we just wrote.
Okay.
How do I know what a property's worth or something like that? What is it? Okay.
I know what you're talking about now.
She's looking at me like, don't look at me like that, Dad. Don't wait for me. Don't put pressure on me like that. The way I do this is very simple. I go into Google. I type the full address. I type the street number, the street name. I spell out the names. I don't abbreviate anything. I put the city, the state, and the zip code if I have it.
Mm-hmm.
And Google will bring up all the big ones. It'll bring up Zillow. It'll bring up RealQuest, Realtor.com. It'll bring up the listing if it's on the MLS. It'll bring up all of those. All I do is I just do a kind of an average of all of those.
Of the houses that are similar?
No.
Oh, no, just, whatever they're saying for that house, yeah.
Yeah, so that like Zillow will give you an estimate and the Realtor.com
yeah,
will give you a
they're not the
price.
same. They vary, yeah.
So I take a sweet average. Now, if I notice that 2 or 3 of them are the same, I just take that number.
Mm-hmm.
So if they say it's 139.9, 2 of them says it's 139.9, and the other 2 say it's 118, I take the 239.9.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the point. I have those numbers in my mind. You can write them down too. But I have those numbers in my mind so that when I'm proposing a deal structure to them, I know how to sell it. So it's like if I'm going to sell on a rent to own, I can sell for 139.9. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to sell for cash, I know it's got to be 118. You know, those kind of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I have the maximum, but I have those numbers in my head. Okay. The other thing is if you're really, if you're an analysis paralysis type person and you have to investigate everything before you do something, then go to realestateabc.com. That's a really good evaluation site. RealFlow is another one. RealFlow, that's software that costs $100 a month. You can do that and not be a realtor. So those are some good ways.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find it, Em? Okay. All right. Next thing you want to do is you want to do the math for the deal, right? So I've taught you how to do this at flippinghousesforrookies.com/free stuff. If you go to the loan to value video, it'll show you how to do this. Okay, so you need to know the math of the deal. You need to know what they owe. You need to know, based on what they're asking, what the loan to value ratio is. You need to know your numbers so you can move them around in your conversation. Okay, you just need to know basic. What is it?
127.
Okay. Let me see here. So Emma says the name of that podcast to go figure out what the property. Oh yeah, how do I know I'm paying a fair price for investment property? That's episode number 127. Okay, so there's a whole podcast there to figure out what a house is worth. Okay. All right, so then you're going to do your math. You're going to figure out, what you can pay and all that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the next thing you're going to want to do is have some idea of the seller's motivation level, right? Are they super motivated? Are they not so motivated? So here's the thing is I have created a monster in Bill's Planet, especially with my coaching group, because I tend to talk about what I do, and that always doesn't work for everybody. Because sometimes the way my schedule is I over-qualify my leads. And I don't sit in as many houses. The difference is when I sit in a house, the chances of me buying it are pretty damn good. Mostly because I qualify them correctly.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a beginner or not as skilled as sitting in the house, which you're only going to get if you sit in houses. That's how I did it, right? I sat in thousands of houses, so of course it's that way, right? In the beginning, it doesn't matter. Just go do appointments. You can't go wrong. The most valuable thing you could do is sit in a house talking to a seller. So even if you screw it up, and as I talk about all the time, I say record yourself, and then go listen to yourself, and you'll get better. But in the beginning, go sit in some suspect houses, because that's what's going to actually get you good at what you're doing. Because if you get all the way out there, you take 3 hours off in the middle of the afternoon for your job, so you go see this person, and you get out there in the first 5 minutes, he's like, I'm not doing a terms deal. What are you, nuts? And they throw you out, quote unquote, facetiously. They shoo you off, right? You'll learn next time not to do that.
Yeah.
It's a valuable lesson, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. You actually said get in some houses with some suspects, and you don't think you're kidding. Because practice with some people. You know what the benefit of that is? You're not expecting to buy the house. So you're not going to be nervous. You're not going to be worried. I'm just going to do this for practice. And you don't have a thing on it. Let me just see how far I can get and just say some words, and then I'll practice. I'll be more ready for the real good one that comes along.
So go back to episode number 150 with Ben Settle and listen to the part about neediness. And what you're saying takes that away. By talking to suspects, knowing you're not going to buy the house takes the neediness away, and you'll notice that the deal will work differently.
Yeah, you might even buy something by accident, but you won't be like begging and nervous.
So I'm not a hard-ass believer on this, but I believe it's better. It's too easy to do it. Have some business cards. You can go on to Vistaprint and get them. That's what we do. Okay?
But you say you don't believe in business cards that much?
No, I'm not a hard ass about it. I'm just saying if you don't have business cards, don't not do the appointment. It's just good, like when you first come to the door, you can hand them a business card. Yeah. I probably pass out business cards. The only time I pass out a business card is when I and I didn't realize this till I wrote this podcast, but the only time I pass out a business card is when I actually make a deal and I want them to contact me when I'm leaving. It's the only time I pass out a business card. Otherwise, I don't want people calling me. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like I got enough people calling me. I mean, you have lunch with me. You see all I got to do is shut my phone off for an hour and 15 minutes, and it takes me 2 hours to catch up.
I'm sitting next to you trying to have a conversation. You're on the damn phone answering things. All
right. This is another thing that we don't do enough, and I'm gonna actually fix it with you and I. And I'm kind of setting the listeners up for a little bit of a loss because you can't get this from me for free. You have to buy it, and I don't even have it for sale, so you have to send me a support ticket. I'm going to have to figure out what to do. But I have a credibility pack. I try to use a credibility pack. What that is kind of like some background history of us. It's some testimonials and
houses that we've sold, pictures,
and it talks about what we do. Now, if you don't have a credibility pack, which I know you don't because I've not sold them, the next closest thing is if you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com/free stuff, and get the lease option explain document. It's a 5-page document that explains what we do. And you could add some testimonials to that, or doctor it up a little bit, or just give it to them the way it is, but leave them with something. And the lease option explain document that's on the free stuff page is close enough. It's not exactly what I prefer, but it's better than nothing.
Right.
Okay. The other thing about that too is when we get in further a little bit, you're going to want to write down the deal, the deal structure. If you flip that document over, that's a good place to write it, because then they'll keep it.
Oh, right.
Right.
For them. And you should have a copy for yourself so you remember what you offered.
Right. Yeah. I've done that way too many times.
Like, what was the pitch?
Yeah. So good thing is I record everything. So all right. So the next thing is your prospect suspect form. Make sure you have it. Make sure you have your notes, because you should write your 4 different types of notes on the back of the prospect suspect form. So when you're out there, you can flip over the prospect suspect form and read your notes. Okay. So if you don't have a prospect suspect form, which you should have, if you're in a house doing a deal meeting, you should minimally have a prospect suspect form, because that has all the data of the house, the motivation. It has all the data you need to buy a house, so you have to have that. If you don't have one, go to flippinghousesforrookies.com/free stuff, and you can get one there. Okay? So the next thing is you should always carry with you a buying pack. So what a buying pack is for me is a manila folder, a blank manila folder with a purchase and sales contract in it and an option agreement in it. Okay. Now I keep multiple. I keep 4 or 5 purchase and sales and 4 or 5 option agreements, because anytime I write an agreement, I try to do it in blue pen. I always keep a blue pen with me, and I do 1 copy for them and 1 copy for me. So each deal will take 2 copies. Okay, and I'm going to cover this in a couple minutes, what you're going to do, right? So obviously have blue pens, right? The other thing is have some device. I know cell phones nowadays have it. For a long time they didn't. Used to have a separate device in the car, and before then I used maps, but have MapQuest. So you know how to get to the house. Okay. A little trick. This is a senior moment right now, okay? A little trick is when you get to the house, especially if you get there early, don't shut off your GPS. Drive around the block. Drive around a little bit and have the GPS keep bringing you back. Otherwise, you got to put it back in your GPS, like if you drive around. So, like before I get there, instead of making the last turn, I'll like make a left or a right and drive around the neighborhood and see what the neighborhood's like. And the GPS will constantly bring you back to the house. It'll keep correcting you.
Yeah. What was that? Why? It'll record the address?
No. What I'm saying is when you get to the house, make a wrong turn before you get to the house. Because once you get to the house, the GPS says you're here. It'll shut off. Yeah. But before you do that, make a wrong turn and let GPS drive you around a little bit so you can see what the neighborhood's like, and then eventually bring it back to the house. Okay. So that's just a senior moment. You don't have to do that, but that's what I do. All right. The other thing you should bring with you, in episode number 149, we talked about how to build your playbook, right? Yep. So you should bring your playbook with you in the house so you can answer, because on the top of each page, you'll have a rebuttal, or resistance, or stall, or objection, or whatever it is. And if you have your book with you, you can minimally just read the script.
Oh, really? Well, the guy says, I got to think about it. And you go, well, hang on a minute. You go through the book, say, oh, wait a minute. I got my...
Absolutely. Why not?
Well,
it's better than not doing a deal.
I suppose you'd look a little funny, though, wouldn't you?
No. Why?
Because, like, the guys, you're reading notes to answer me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You want me to help you the most, don't you?
Yeah. So you have a rebuttal for for that one. That's funny.
All right.
Okay.
I get this one a lot. I hate to even talk about this because to me this is common sense. And I was going to joke about this. I had some jokes, but I'm not going to do it. Some weird jokes, but they're Bill humor, and I think I'll keep that off the air. But dress business casual. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, I don't know why so many people worry about what they look like. A lot of people are vain. I'm not that way. I don't give a shit I do care what I look like because I just dress the same all the time. But I'm not trying to get somebody to like me the way I dress. I will tell you from personal experience, this is massive personal experience. Do not wear perfume. Do not wear cologne because some people just don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a couple coaching clients. When I'm around them, I was in a house with one the other day, and it was very difficult because his cologne was so strong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so try not to wear perfume. Try not to wear any kind of cologne or anything like that. Take a bath.
No, some people
Smell
are
like
allergic.
soap.
Some of that stuff is made of chemicals and things, and people are allergic to that. It's not.
And that's
it's not,
more
it's not
and
natural.
more prevalent these days than
Yep.
it used to be. So,
Yep.
just don't dress up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wear a tie or anything like that. Just be casual.
Don't look like a banker.
Yeah. I often wear blue jeans and a good pair of shoes, and a nice shirt. I mean, I'm
So
not
we're not
cheap
gonna-
with my clothes. I mean, my shirts, this shirt that I'm wearing right now is a $150 shirt. You know what I mean? You wouldn't know that when you look at it, but it's $100 or maybe $130 shirt. Okay?
Jeez,
I'm not telling you to wear that, but it doesn't look like that when you look at it.
I went
okay?
shopping at the mall yesterday. Swimsuit, $100.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm in the wrong store.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
But my point,
yeah, some clothes really
my
are up
point
there.
is that I just, so if I wear a nice pair of blue jeans and a nice pair of shoes and a nice shirt, then that's casual
Yeah.
enough,
But no
And
shorts
of course,
and
if
flip
you know
flops.
me, I always got a vest on.
Uh-huh.
It's just me. I don't know why I do that. It's just always been that way. All right. So does that make sense?
Yeah, and no shirts, flip flop. No shorts and flip flops.
No shorts, no flip flops. Don't look because they'll just think you're a sham. Especially if you're younger. Like we have a lot of 20-year-old people that have been following us lately. A lot of millennials. This makes a big difference. Don't look like a 20-year-old kid. Dress like a 50-year-old guy.
Yeah.
Dress like somebody like me.
Yeah. Well, your age says that you don't have experience because you're young, so don't make it worse by looking like you don't
right.
care.
So don't wear, don't have pink hair and earrings in your face and
Nose.
I call it shrapnel. Don't have shrapnel in your face. All that kind of stuff. Just try to stay away from that. Okay. All right. So now you get all that. That's all the preparation.
Yep.
How we doing, all right?
Ooh, that was just preparation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you're in the front. You're at the front door. You have the doorbell rung,
Mm-hmm.
and they open the door. First thing you need to do is have a lot of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And even if you're nervous as hell in the beginning, just fake it till you make it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Well, you have nothing to actually lose.
Right.
You have something to gain, but don't worry about what you might not gain.
Right.
You got to do this step.
So step 1 of the 15 steps is greet the seller with enthusiasm. And don't fake it because they know when you're faking it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I mean enthusiasm, I mean just not anything overwhelming, nothing, over the top. Just a nice smile, right? Confidence, being there while you're there, not thinking about something else, just in the moment. And shake their hand, possibly give them the card at that point, the business card at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I carry a notebook with me, mostly because it camouflages my phone. My phone is black. I got an iPhone, and I turn the phone upside down, and I hold it in my hand. I hold the notebook. It's like a leather notebook.
Mm-hmm.
It's a presentation pack you made for me.
Yeah.
I keep the leather notebook and my phone together, so when I'm walking around, I'm holding the two of them together, and that's how I record my everything. They don't know it because it's turned upside down.
Well, you put your phone on airplane mode so it won't ring, so it just records and doesn't make any noises.
Right. So you don't
it's not
want
doing
text and ringing phones and buzzing and beeping and all that stuff in your house. When you're in the house for the 60 or 90 minutes, just put your phone in airplane mode and then record what you're doing. Now, you don't have to worry about telling them you're recording or anything like that because it's just for you and yourself. You're not going to sell it. You're not going to solicit their voices.
Not going to post it.
Like that. Yeah. You're just listening to it for yourself, and it's not a problem. Okay? So just remember that first impressions mean a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that first impression, the first couple seconds is going to mean a lot. So if you're a girl or a woman, I shouldn't say a girl, just a nice pair of slacks and a nice shirt, don't be provocative, don't have your shirt showing a lot of cleavage and, Make sure your hair is done right, not overabundant earrings, just kind of like you're blending into the crowd. Okay?
You don't want to
Same
be
thing.
you don't want to be distracting, do you? You want to just be there and with the comfortable with the attention on the property, the deal.
You don't need
Just
to wear
be
high
distracted.
heels, just wear flat shoes, nothing extravagant, just plain Jane, but yet not like dumpy looking. You know what I mean? Just be casual. Okay? No perfume, because like I said, a lot of times, and the funny thing is, the people that wear perfume don't
notice.
smell it,
Yeah.
and so they put more on than because they don't smell it. It's like me smoking cigars. I don't smell myself stinking like a cigar all the time, but when I walk in a room, everybody says, "Oh, you stink like a cigar." Well, then leave the room. That's my answer. You know what? It works, because often people will leave the room.
Bill, do you make friends that way?
I'm not looking to make friends. Well, let's put it this way: if they're so bent out of shape, I got a couple girls where I worked on at the church. They're like, you know what? Bottom line is, if they don't like me for who I am, they're not going to be my friends anyway. So just leave the room. To me, it's a pre-qualifier. If you don't like me for who I am, F you, see you, bye. There you go.
You don't smell that bad, Bill.
Is that too confident? Is that arrogant? My mother says I'm pompous. That's why, because they say things like that.
Well, I'm going to go have a word with your mother when I'm in Fort Myers.
Yeah. Good luck on that. Number two. And don't say nothing. Number 2, ask if there are any
Dogs.
dogs or other people in the house. Okay? You don't want to walk in on a teenage girl when she's getting dressed and startle her.
Yeah, you're going through the house. You're opening doors. You're looking in closets. You open the door. There's somebody in bed asleep.
Yeah, or smoking pot or whatever. I mean, I've had quite a few experiences. Okay, so the biggest reason why you want to know about dogs is because you don't want to get startled. So I'm telling you to have confidence, and I'm telling you to be there and confronting the person, being yourself, just naturally being there. And all of a sudden, this big 300-pound dog comes and jumps on you. That'll startle you. That'll take you off your game. And ironically enough, it could take you a half an hour to 45 minutes to recover from that, and you don't even realize it. So don't let that happen, because you only have a half hour, 45 minutes. So don't let the dog take you off your game. Don't let the dog take you out of that environment and not be there in present time, talking to the person, actually communicating with them and understanding what they're saying because you were startled.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds kind of like plain Jane, but honestly, this happened to me.
Yeah.
You lose deals that way.
No, I see you walk in and you do ask, do you have any dogs? Anybody else here?
Right. So next thing you're going to do is you're going to do a tour of the house. So you're going to have them, this is number 3, you're going to tour the house and have them walk you around room by room. Okay. This is a great time to build rapport and get questions asked about their situation. To me, it's a great interrogation process, but that's not the right word to use. It's a good, relaxing time for them to for you to tell them stories, and they tell you stories.
Yeah, and you're looking for their situation.
Right. Like, for example, I was in a house the other day, a $600,000 house with one of my students, and we were in the basement, and her husband was upstairs, and I wanted to kind of talk to her without her husband around. I want to find out what their deal was, because he's a new husband, right? So I wanted to find out, and they live on a boat in the Keys somewhere, and they're selling this house because they live on this boat.
Wow.
And they want to live on the boat.
Jeez.
So she really doesn't need the money, but she's got this $3,000 mortgage that's kind of in the way.
Yeah.
Because she'd rather spend the $3,000 living on the boat. Okay, because that'll go a long way on a boat.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, right? So, and they're retired, right? So we're walking around the house, we get in the basement, and I wanted to explain to her the difference between a cash sale and a terms deal. Right? And so basically the point that I was trying to get across to her is that if you're going to do a cash sale with a realtor and conventionally, then the repairs you're talking about, because she kept pointing out the repairs. the repairs that you're talking about do need to be done.
Right. The realtor is going to require that.
Because they're selling a house.
Yeah.
When we do terms deal, we're selling financing. So that stuff a lot of it will be excused. Like the bathroom was totally fine, but she wanted to put in this new shower system that'll probably cost her $8,000.
Jeez.
But it's a $600,000 house in Westport, Connecticut, which is an upstat place, right?
Yeah.
Last thing I want to say on this before I go. This is an old used car trick. Okay? It's very cool, and I only use it occasionally, but I do use it. So when we used to go out and appraise a car, we would walk around the car, and if there was a scratch or a small dent, we wouldn't say anything. We would just touch it so that the seller knew you saw it.
Mm-hmm.
So there are times I'm in the house where I'll like touch things. Or I'll put my attention, I'll go over and I'll fiddle with it. You're like a door on a shower that's broken.
Right.
Or I'll put my hands on a pipe on a furnace to see if they're hot. If it's an old furnace. Or the chimney's got, brick that's brittle. I'll like go over and like pick it with my finger and see if it's like flaking.
Yeah.
Right? I don't obsessively do it, but I make it so that they know that there's something going on there. Okay.
Yeah, they know you're paying attention.
Yeah.
You see the discount coming.
Right. Okay, good. Now that's the inside of the house. Now make sure you do the obvious, the bathroom, the kitchen, the living room, the dining room. Check out, always open the closet doors. Always look in the showers because I've got stung with that. I don't pull back the shower curtain to find out that there's a hole in the tile, and all of a sudden I got a $600 repair I didn't think of. Make sure that there's not in the showers there's not mold,
yeah,
and things like that. So just see if it's a safe place for somebody to be. Will somebody want to? It's like a kitchen. Will somebody want to like cook their food in this kitchen? Well, somebody's going to get naked and get in that shower. Is it going to be someplace they want to be?
Yeah.
Are they going to feel comfortable?
It'd be gross.
Yeah.
Look under the sink to see if there's been leakage. To see
Sometimes I don't do that because I'm too fat, but I don't do that.
Well, I'm not crawling, but if you just open under the kitchen sink, for example, you can see there's water that's been spilled. You can see all the effects of the water stains,
Right.
and maybe even on the floor or underneath the floor. You go in the basement, you look up, and you see water stains, so there's been leaking.
So just make sure you do all that. But the other thing is make sure you go in the basement. Make sure if there's an upstairs or an attic. I don't go in the actual attics, but sometimes I'll pull down the doors to check, make see the roof or something like that. I don't always do that, but I do occasionally. Right? So that's number 3. Number 4, go outside. So have them go outside with you, and you want to look at the landscaping, you want to look at the decks, the siding, the windows, the roof, the chimney, all that kind of stuff, and take notes. Now, here's what I'm going to do, is we just recently, the last week or so, uploaded a new document on the free stuff page. So if you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com/free stuff, we have a new document that's called, Emma, what's it called? Prospect, what's the new document?
Project estimate repair sheet.
Property estimate repair sheet. It's a property estimate repair sheet. Okay, you can go download that on the free website, and it's actually a one page that actually has some common costs here in New England, and you could at least write things down and take notes. I don't do that because I do per square foot. So I just multiply my average square foot is $25 a square foot because that's my average renovation. So I do, 1,300 square feet times $25, and I know what my repairs are. Some people are not comfortable with that. You can go download this new sheet that we just uploaded, the property repair estimate form, and you can use it when you're walking around and take notes. Okay?
Yep.
All right. So we're through the house now. We've taken the tour. We built some rapport. We decided what we're going to do, more or less. Okay. Now you're going to sit down at the table. Okay. So I prefer to sit at the kitchen table because we are going to want to sign documents. Although I've sat in a lot of living rooms, I prefer to sit at a kitchen table. Right. A good way to do this is suggest, why don't we sit at the kitchen table or sit at the dining room table? So I can show you some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so how about we sit at the... so I've seen the house, I'm good, let's chat. Okay, why don't we sit at the kitchen table so I can show you some stuff?
Yeah.
Now, we have a presentation pack, right, that we use. Well, I don't even use it anymore. I just talk my way through it, but we use a presentation pack.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't need to have that. And get some water. But if you did episode number 149 and actually made your playbook, this would be a good time to use that. Okay, your script on what you're going to say and how you're going to say it, okay?
Right.
So, couple points here. Try not to sit in someone's usual spot. Ask them, is
Don't
this
sit
where...
in their chair.
Yes. Ask them like Archie Bunker,
Yeah.
right?
Edith, get that bum out of my chair.
So,
Meathead.
don't sit in their usual spot. Ask them first, is this where you usually sit? And if they say yes, then just don't sit there, right? If you do sit in the living room, which I don't suggest, but if you do sit in the living room, make sure it's a place like when we were in Margaret's house. Remember, we sat in the living room. It was her favorite spot, but there was a little table there, and I was able to put my book and put our documents on the table, so it was fine. So make sure it's close enough so you can show them your materials.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I didn't talk about, because I don't want to elaborate on this, but one of the things that you can do is you can bring comps or comparables with you. For the house. I try not to do that. That's a kind of insulting, and it's kind of like you're trying to win an argument.
Well, you're going to prove yourself right, and you're going to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
See, I have documentation here that'll show.
Yeah. And it's just kind of it depends on the person, but documents like that, you know what I mean? You might want to have, some. I mean, we use, like I said, we have a presentation pack. And the only way you're going to get that is if you're in my coaching group, and if you are curious about it, want to buy it outside the coaching group, just go to flippinghousesforrookies.com /, go to contact page and send me a support ticket and we'll talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Number 6, I always start out with a story, right? And it relates to something in the house or something that was part of the tour. Okay. So like, it might even be about the dog. It might be about the flaking paint in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
It might be about the chimney. It might be about the landscaping. It might be about the neighborhood. And by the way, it doesn't have to be your story.
I knew a guy once.
I heard one time, or you could tell one of my stories. My partner or my mentor was in a house like this one time, and he told me this. So the point of this is this warms them up. All right?
Now, is this a good story, bad story, positive, negative? Does it matter? Just something. I mean, boy, it happened to me once.
Yeah.
Oh, that happened. It was great. I really loved that.
And if you're doing like what we talked about in episode number 149, which is how to survive anyone selling real estate, you're actually aligning that story to your close. So if you think you want to do a lease option deal, then tell a story that has a closing that aligns with the lease option. If you think you're going to do a cash deal and they're a probate house, then align the story with once you did a probate thing.
Right.
So
and everybody was happy.
The more you could do that, the better off you can be. All your stories throughout the whole thing should be that way. That's the reason why we do preparation with math and have the loan to value ratio, because we're going to go in with a preconceived idea of we're going to start here. We're going to start with a subject to deal. Right now, you can't go in with just that in your mind and that's your only offer, but you want to start with that. So your stories, all your stories up to that point, should align with doing a subject to deal, right? And that's what we talked about in episode number 145. What was it? Things that felt. I forgot what it is. The Dave Lindahl. Anyway.
Oh, feel, felt, found.
Found, yeah. Feel, felt, found, yeah. Right. So I feel, I once felt that way, and
well, I understand that you feel that way, and other sellers have felt the same way. They have the same problem. Right. What they found was if they did such and such. I
don't use that much, but that's a great way to do that, right? So your story should be that way.
Yeah, you should never try to argue with somebody. Yeah. If you can have something over here be the story, well, this happened over here, that helps you. You're not pushing against somebody because they're just going to push back.
I can tell you probably I fight with people sometimes when I shouldn't, but I wait till the right time. Like, for example, I'll never forget when I was training Naomi, right? I never forget, because she's just Miss Passive. She's like a left winger to a point. You got to be nice to everybody, and there's no, you can't be rude, and it's like all these social mechanisms, right?
My town has bandit signs going up. Build a strong neighborhood through kindness.
Yeah.
I got nothing against kindness, but I don't think you build a strong neighborhood through kindness. I think there's a few other things you have to do. I'm very kind. If you're too kind, you get run over. Right. So you have to be strong and kind, maybe.
But sometimes I'll start my presentation off with, I'm not your buyer.
I've seen you do that. I went,
here's the reason why.
You came all the way to Newton, like, but I'm shut up and let you go.
But it's completely a reach and withdraw. I'm withdrawing because it's like I need to get their attention. And honestly, when I say it, I mean it, because it's like, this house, you're asking $239 for a house that's worth $220, and you told me it's pretty, but it needs $15,000 worth of work. I'm not your buyer. I'll start that way. I'm not your buyer. Well, what do you mean? Well, this is the reason why. Because you want $239, it's worth $220, it needs $15,000 worth of work. What am I going to do with that?
Yeah,
pretty much. And that's how I'll start.
That'd be good for you, but what do I do?
Yeah, because here's the thing that I do know: absolutely every single seller are only concerned with what they're going to get and what they're going to do with the money once they get it. They're not thinking about how are you going to pay them, or what's going to happen to you, or what are your repercussions, or what's going to happen.
How are you going to sell it? No.
Lose money or anything. They don't care about any of that. So you need to rock their boat a little bit and let them know, hey, what makes your plan? Why should I pay for your plan? Why should I pay for your new house? Or why should I pay for your vacation? Or why should I pay for your retirement by paying $239 for a house that's worth $220?
Yeah.
Give me a reason to do that. And terms is one of those reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So give me a reason to do that, and I will. But in the meantime, I'm not doing it just because I'm a nice guy. Okay? Number 6. So we good on that?
Oh, yeah.
Good. So you're going to sit down at the table. So, I'm sorry. Number 6 is always start a story. This actually warms people up, so they start telling you their stories. And the more they tell you their stories, the more you learn about them. And the more you learn about them, you can do better deals. Now, here's an amazing thing. We talked about in episode 149 about mirroring people and matching your personalities. This is going to make a big difference when they're telling their stories, because now you can find out what their true beliefs are. You don't have the social personality or the social veneer. They're not being polite because they're in a group full of people. The stories they tell are going to be the truth. Like, you're going to find out that they're passive aggressive, right? One thing that is a stable datum for me is people accuse those of what they themselves are doing. So if I have a person that I'm trying to sell a house to, like a buyer, and they're telling me all about the landlord, they're being critical of the landlord, that means what did they do to the landlord that they're not telling me? Yeah. Because people accuse those of what they themselves are doing.
I had a guy looking at my condo, and he's complaining about something in the place, and he wasn't going to tell him he was going to leave. He was just going to kind of leave.
Right.
I was like, I don't want that for a tenant. And he didn't have the sense not to tell me that.
Right.
Like, yeah, I don't want you.
So my point in bringing that up now is that when you get your seller to tell stories, these things are going to pop up. So if you have somebody that's like that, can you trust them to stay in the deal with you? So where you might want to do a lease option because he's like kind of yucky and dirty and kind of like, I don't want to be in business with this guy, you might be like, well, we're doing a subject to deal because I need to get the deed in my name because you need to get the hell out of here because I don't want you as a partner.
Yeah, that's right. Or slot deal if it's appropriate.
So it may change, it may adjust how you want to deal with this person because you're finding out what they're really like. So the story part is very important. Okay. Number 7, give your presentation, right? Like I said, we use a presentation pack, and you can get one of those. It's expensive, but you can get one. In the beginning, just realize in the beginning, I didn't use a presentation pack. So you can do that too. You don't need to have this. You don't need to be perfect. You need to just get in houses and get these experiences that we're talking about, and you'll sooner or later get better and better at it, right? What I found that the presentation pack does, the only thing the presentation pack does for me is it negotiates the asking price by 10 to 15%. So if you got a $200,000 house, it brings it down to 180 or 175, right?
Yeah, it goes over the cost to sell.
So it does a beautiful job of negotiating that. If you don't have a presentation pack, the only other reason to have a presentation pack is to go through the sequence of what you need to talk about. You could do that with a notebook. You could create your script so that it's in a proper sequence, right? What I have found is if there's 10 things that you need to cover in a presentation, often and they're 1 through 10, like start at 1, go to 10. A lot of times with my coaching clients, they'll be like trying to do a presentation. They're on step 2 and their seller's on step 6.
Yeah, they bring up another topic and you're not ready for it. Yeah, that threw me.
Yeah. So you're on step 2, they're on step 6, right? They're ahead of you.
Yeah.
And they're not listening to you anymore. So sometimes you have to start at step 6, go through 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and then go back to 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Because it'll be like, okay, so he's on step 6. You'll close him by step 8. I've had that happen. I'm just giving you like a facetious type of an example here. So he's on step 6. You close him on step 8. It was like piece of cake. You close him in 15 minutes. Well, now once you close him, you got paperwork done, blah, blah, blah. You go back and cover the other steps so he knows what he needs to do. Right? So you don't always have to use the 10 steps to close someone. You just got to make sure that you have them completely aware of what's going to happen.
So whatever's pertinent in the presentation, so they know what's... Okay, I got it. If it's not important, you just let it go.
Right.
And when somebody buys, you just say, thank you.
Right.
Don't keep selling.
Well, you do. You upsell them something. So it's like there's an ongoing joke. If you got a guy that comes into a store, right, and it's not a joke. It's actually a sales thing. A guy comes into a store and he buys a $3,000 pen. The question is, you ring him up, you take his money. What do you do next?
Sell him something else?
Well,
the matching pencil?
Yeah, but that's because you've heard me tell the story. I mean, a lot of people are like, well, you wrap him, you say thank you, you build rapport, you get his email address, No, you sell him a pen that's $6,000.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's in a buying mood and he's happy, and that's the happiest moment he has.
Okay.
Right? So that's just a selling thing. Okay. So basically, what you got to do at this point, and even if you don't have a presentation, on step 7, which is where we are talking about doing the presentation, if you don't have a presentation, it's your first time in the house because you listened to me and you were like, I called it for sale by owner, the third one, I got in the house. Okay?
Yeah.
Totally fine. If you don't have a presentation, make sure you write this down. Just say, after you tell your stories, after you do all that stuff, you say to them, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? And just shortcut the whole presentation. And let them make you an offer. Now what you do is you take one of the 7 deal structures I have and you match that to how you're going to talk to them. So they say, well, I'd like to have all cash now. Okay, good. So you do your Mayo formula, maximum allowable formula, which is the number 5 deal, which is a rehab retail. You do your Mayo formula, which is ARV times 70%. ARV is after renovated value times 70% minus your repairs. And even if it doesn't need repairs, you still pull back $5,000 or $10,000 anyways for a wholesale deal. And you give him the number, and he won't like it. And then you can say to them, okay, here's what I was thinking. How about if I do a rent to own from you? And then you do that presentation.
Right.
And all you need to do to know how to do these presentations is go to flippinghousesforrookies.com/free stuff and just watch my videos. And don't try to give them the seminar I'm giving you, but just have a general understanding of it so you can explain it to them. And in the beginning, that will at least get you started. So the more you do appointments, the more frustrated you'll get. If you're not closing, you'll start getting more and more tools. But those tools will be more and more significant to you because you're now in the house making those mistakes and want to fix them. And you'll learn more. Okay?
Also, you do only do one deal at a time. You don't jump around. You just go one thing, explain it all. If they don't get that or like it, then you just try one more, spend time on that.
That's number 8.
Oh.
It's actually number 8. So you get the sequence. So
I'm tracking
if they
along.
say no to your offer, pick another one of the 7 deal structure and make another offer. And exactly what you said, never mix offers. Do one at a time.
Yeah, it's hard enough to get one of these figured out. We studied this for weeks and months and years. You can't just pitch them in 10 minutes. They're not going to quite get it if it's a little different than the usual. Here's your check. Go to the lawyer. Take what's left. Go home.
So just pick one at a time and just talk about one at a time, right? So don't mix them up. Don't confuse your seller. Don't do any of that stuff. Okay? Number 9. Handle any objections, stalls, or resistance, or just plain old questions so the seller feels comfortable. Because now you said to them, okay, here's what we're going to do. And you might have handled a bunch of them while you did your presentation. But if they're still not saying yes, then ask them what would have to happen for me to buy your house today. And don't think that you're re-asking the same question, because when you asked it the first time, they had no information. Now that you talked for 20 minutes, he's got new information, and you ask the question again. Well, I'd like to do that. I'd like for you to take over my payments, but I don't want to deed the house in your name and the mortgage stays in my name. Okay, how about we do this? Right?
Yep.
So that question works. Number 10, close the deal by making agreements on who does what when. Okay? So you're going to go from talking about, and you'll notice in the presentations, you'll go from talking about the math and how it works to the details. Like, when do I stop paying? When do you start paying? What do I have to do about the hole in the roof? What about the stuff in the garage? How do I get a moving truck, or, whatever. I mean, all these things like, well, I can't be in DC to my new job until June 15th. How does that affect things?
Right.
Because it's May 1st. Right. Just you'll notice that once they're closed, those are closing questions. So they're closed.
Right. So
you start just following that sequence of the details and working out the agreements of who's going to do what. Okay. So that's number 10. Number 11 is once they've decided that you're the solution and want you and respect. Let me see. I'll just read it. Once they are decided on your solution is what they want, you repeat back to them what you're doing, so there's no confusion. This is a good time for you to flip over your credibility pack and write it on a piece of paper. Draw it out so it's real simple to see. Okay, it's a great time to do that. Okay, if you don't have the five laws of an offer, the 5-page lease option and explain. You don't have a credibility pack. Just use a piece of blank paper and just draw it out. Okay. And like you said earlier, take a picture of that before you leave so you have a copy, because otherwise you might forget. Number 12. This is my favorite part of deal structuring, of doing a deal. This is a perfect time to flap your lips and get shit. All right? And I put this is a perfect time to get some junk.
Yeah.
Okay? I've gotten lawnmowers, gas grills, furniture, all kinds of stuff. And the way you do that is you just say, well, I think we have a deal if you just throw in the gas grill or throw in the lawnmower, or I could probably do that if you give me the car in the driveway. If you know it's some car that they're trying to sell or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a perfect time to flap your lips and get that done.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 13, you take out your agreement, which is either the purchase and sales contract or your option agreement, depending on which one you're going to use, and you actually start filling them out. Okay. You don't ask permission. You don't say, do you want to fill out the contract now? You just take them out. You never talk about a contract. You never say the word contract. That's scary. Okay. You just take it out and you start filling it out. Once you repeated to them, this is the deal. Once you made whatever, flapped your lips and got the lawnmower, then you just, okay, here we go. You open up your notebook and your file and you take it out and you start filling out what's your name, and they know you're filling out the paperwork. They know you're closing them, and they'll either stop you or they'll just let you continue. Okay. At that point, both parties, number 14, both parties sign the agreement, both using blue pen. You have one copy for them, one copy for you. I use a purchase and sales contract or an option agreement. Now, if you're signing an option agreement, that's just you're getting them to sign something. So the easy way to remember this is there's two buckets.
Right.
One bucket is that it's all cash.
Mm-hmm.
The other bucket is a terms deal.
Right.
So if it's an all cash deal, like you're going to do a retail rehab, or if you're going to do owner financing or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to close with a lawyer, just do it a purchase and sales contract. If you're going to do a terms deal like a lease option or something like that, just sign the option agreement. Even if it's subject to, you need 6 documents to sign, which are in the How to Buy Real Estate Without a Loan course. I explain all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's you don't use an option for the
You
subject
don't use an
to.
option, but you
Just
have
not
them
an option.
sign an option because you come back later and say, okay, now that we signed the original document, I have 6 more documents to sign. I'll come back later and have them all filled out. I'm going to go back to my office and fill them all out. I'm going to type them all out, and I'm going to bring them to you, and we're going to sign them.
Mm-hmm.
And we need a notary to do that,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if they at least sign the option agreement, they have something that they signed and they think they sold their house.
Yeah.
So they won't back out. Okay?
Something's written.
Yeah. So that's number 14. Number 15, now you give them a short synopsis of what's going to happen once you leave. So I always tell them nothing's going to happen until I do a title search. It takes 5 working days,
Oh, sure.
right? You can tell them while I'm gone, while I'm doing a title search, what you should do is you should get all the stuff out of the basement. You should get your moving truck. You should get your money. You should whatever you
Give them something. Whatever the next
give them
steps are.
2 or 3 of the next steps that you need them to do. And you should always be 3 to 5 steps ahead of them and always coaxing them along saying, you need to do this, you need to do that, but never more than 3. So I give them the next 3 things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then what I do is I list those 3 things out. I actually write them down, especially on the back of the credibility pack or on a piece of paper. I write them down and make sure they have them. And then I always set up my next appointment with them. Like I'll be back on Tuesday with this document, or I'm going to bring my contractor back on this day, or I'm going to have somebody come over and do that, or whatever, right? And you just set up your next appointment. And at that point, you're done. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the final note, there is a final note on this. Put as much as possible in writing as you can. Right?
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
I'm not as good as I should be with this, but put as much as writing as you can. Especially your deal. I put on paper or on the back of my credibility pack as much as I can. Right? This way, they have something to review.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no confusion. Because somebody will come along and tell them they shouldn't have done that or whatever. And they'll have some seller remorse or something. And also, I told you, I record everything. So I have it. I keep it on my phone. They don't know I'm recording it, but I can always go back anytime I want and hear what was said.
Sure.
You know, and they'll be adamant, no, I didn't say that. And you don't want to say to them, oh, I have a recording. You did say that. But at least you know what you're dealing with.
Mm.
Okay? Never done that before, huh, Peter? Whew.
No, that's cool.
It's a 15
I mean, I've
steps.
heard the parts, but just to have it in that sequence is really good.
Right. And it's stuff that we normally do anyways, you
Yeah.
and I, but it's good to hear about it.
It would be really nice if that was in a document.
We'll work on that. Okay, so at the end of the day, you already know this. If you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com/free stuff, there are videos there. There are forums there. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. If you're really jacked up and you're really ready to do this, you should go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. On the top, there's a link that says courses. Go on there, and there's plenty of courses. You know, they're $97, $67. They're not always expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're really, really jacked up, go to, the most flagship course we have is How to Buy Real Estate Without a Loan. Just go there. Everything that I just explained to you, all the scripts, all the paperwork, everything's in that course. So you're set up to do the calls, do the deal meeting, do the contracts, do all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's there. I mean, that's actually a sin that I'm selling that so low, because it's got everything you need, and it's step by step. It's a sequence.
Yep.
Okay.
It is. And people have done really good with it.
Oh yeah, really good. And the last thing I want to say is, we meaning you and I, but I've really put a lot of attention on making sure our podcasts are meaty and informative and very helpful. So please, if if you could, please go give us a review, either on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you listen to us, YouTube, any one of those places. Just give us a review, because reviews are our lifeblood. I'm looking to get thousands of them, and I've got hundreds of them. I don't even think we have hundreds. We have not many, like 100 or 2. And I'm looking for thousands of them, because I know at this particular point at show 151 we have about 900,000 downloads. So we've had a lot of people listen to us. We get a lot of support tickets, a lot of comments. Please, please, please give us a review, because for me to do a show like this, it takes me 2 to 3 hours just to do the research and write the show, and then it takes there's 3 of us sitting here right now for an hour and a half to do this podcast, and you don't pay us for it, and I pay for it all, and you pay for it with your time. But there's a lot of work that goes into these podcasts, and all I'm asking you for is some exchange. Just go give us a review, okay? Otherwise, if we don't, then we'll just go back to joking around and just not preparing for them, and just kind of like, okay, it's 9:30 in the morning, let's go do and not think about it.
Shorts and flip-flops.
Yeah, shorts and flip-flops. And we goof off, and we really don't give you any content. Okay, so that's my story. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Until next week, we are over and out.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.